Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mile High Huddle. I am your host, Kim Becker, and joining me is publisher and editor Chad Jensen. And Chad, Pro Bowl safety Justin Simmons revealed in an interview that general manager George Paton has already reached out to him. So what do you think that fans should interpret of them being in touch for the soon-to-be free agent?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you think when a brand new GM steps into the job and the first thing he does, figuratively speaking, is call the team's top in-house free agent priority, you think, oh, it's like he called to kind of test the waters and maybe negotiate, but that's not what it was. It was George Paton saying, hey, Justin, I'm the new general manager. You might have heard that the Denver Broncos just hired. I'm George Paton. I've been an admirer of yours from afar, and I just wanted to reach out, connect, introduce myself. It was all very, not to say pro forma, but it was casual. Like it was a genuine outreach of just a guy trying to connect and be a good dude and just taking a sincere, genuine interest in a player. And they didn't even talk any business. They didn't negotiate. They didn't talk contract. And Justin Simmons was frankly quite, I think the word is the best way to describe it, impressed by the fact that Paton took the time to do that. And he just kept it basically on the personal side. Just, hey, what's going on? I'm George, no business. So I think that portends well because things did not, I wouldn't say they ended poorly in the negotiation last summer between John Elway and Justin Simmons, which ultimately led to no long-term deal and a franchise tag, but it didn't resolve in the best way where the team and the player were satisfied. The Broncos didn't want to have to franchise tag him, and he didn't want to have to play on a franchise deal. He wanted some long-term security there. So I think maybe a little bit of a sour taste the way that whole thing resolved last summer. But now John Elway, he's not the point man anymore. It's George Paton, and this is a good first step, right, to start things off on the right footing. So I would say fans at this stage would be wise to kind of view this as a good omen.
I mean, hey, those personable calls, that's huge. We talked earlier in the off season a few weeks ago on Kelberman's Corner, actually, Zach and I, about the new general manager needing to have a personal relationship with this team and really, to be someone there that this team can go to. So I think that's a huge step. I think that's awesome.
Yep. And we already know, in a general sense, how he feels about Simmons, because not only did he tell Simmons that I've been an admirer of yours from afar, but he said, I can't remember if it was during his opening presser, or it might have been a different side interview type thing, but nevertheless, that, hey, we're the Denver Broncos, and we're not in the business of letting our best players walk out the door. And so it was a general, comment, but he was talking about Justin Simmons. He's, one of the shining examples of a player drafted to Denver, developed by the team that has gone on in back-to-back years to have very, very productive seasons, an all-pro year in 2019, followed up by a Pro Bowl year this past season. So I think that kind of tells you where Paton's thought process is with regard to Simmons. But it's still, there's a gap that needs to be bridged because he wants to be the top paid safety in the NFL. And in order for the Broncos to make that happen, in order for Paton to make that happen, they're going to have to move some dollars around. They might have to make some other tougher decisions on the salary cap with other players who are highly paid, a couple guys to look at as, potential casualties like Jarrell Casey and AJ Bouye. But for now, I think it's safe to say that this kind of reinforces the obvious, which is Justin Simmons has to be George Paton's top free agent priority, aside from figuring out the quarterback position.
Yeah, best in the league. Well, we'll soon find out, I'm sure, but exciting for Justin Simmons and really cool to see that George Paton is taking the time to make these relationships with these guys. So awesome to see. Chad, thanks so much for your insight tonight.
Thanks, Kim.